Hello and welcome to Recall Gaming Exploits. Now, I'm going to be going away for about a week as of Monday, which will be tomorrow by the time this goes up, if everything goes well. And I thought I'd leave you some intellectual debate, I guess, although it's not really, I don't know, information of stuff. Yes. Right, so it came out today, or not today, whenever it came out recently, that Activision have announced and confirmed, whatever you want to call it, that the Call of Duty Ghosts game, which I'm not going to be a particular fan of anyway, but so it don't really affect me, but it's worth mentioning, it's a bit noteworthy, that it'll be running on native 1080p on the PlayStation 4. That's pretty cool, but it will only be running on 720p upscaled artificially to 1080p for the Xbox One. So what does this mean? It's a lot of people saying that it doesn't matter because it's still on 1080p, it still runs, it still looks wonderful and that, although to me it looks like it could be quite easy an Xbox 360 game even when it is up on the next gen consoles, but that's just my opinion. Right, what does it mean? And I'll tell you what this means. Basically it means that where it's 720p native and it's been upscaled, that means it's got enough pixels for 720p and they've just been enlarged artificially to work on 1080p. I think I said that right. I'll find out in a minute. And this means a few things. The graphical fidelity, the images produced in each frame, slightly downgraded. It doesn't look as clear on the Xbox One as it does the PS4. And I'm a big Xbox fan, personally. But that's neither here nor there. And a lot of people have been saying the same sort of thing when they've played the gameplay of Battlefield 4 on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. They've played the single player on the Xbox One and said they didn't look anywhere near as good as the multiplayer on the PlayStation 4. So this is over more than one game. We don't have anything said about the resolutions. I think it runs on native 1080p on Battlefield 4 on both, which is kind of strange, because if Battlefield 4 can run at native 1080p on both consoles, then why can't Call of Duty do it? So it could be something to do with the developers, Infinity Ward and stuff, not being able to optimise their game properly to run at 60 frames per second, because apparently Battlefield achieves 60 frames easily on both consoles. But let's just go into it here. Now, reasons why this could be a problem, and this is what I was going to go into anyway. I mean, this is all here showing it's going to be a rumour mill because it is all unconfirmed. It's too early to decide which one's better and all that. But first I'm going to go back to the current gen. So these old bastards, we'll bring them up and we're going to gut them. And I'm going to tell you exactly what the deal is and what the differences are between the 360 and the PlayStation 3. I've probably mentioned this before, but if you haven't seen those videos, you haven't seen videos about this, then happy days, you're in the right place. Now, the Xbox 360, when Microsoft came out with the Xbox and the Xbox 360, they just sort of went to the developers all laid back. Hey, developers, how are you doing? We've got this console thingamajiggy that goes on your TV, and basically, it works like a PC. And the developers are like, oh, what do you mean it works like a PC? Well, we use the same architecture, you see, as we do on the PC, and it makes games much easier to develop for. I see what you mean there, actually, yeah. We've been developing games on PCs for years, and I suppose with the console using the same graphics card, sound card, RAM and everything else throughout the board, you don't need a driver to run the games. So that'd be really easy to develop for, because we don't really have to do anything differently. We just have to develop the games and they'll just work for the console. Exactly, my friend, exactly. So get in bed with us and we'll look after you, yes? And that was pretty much it. I'm pretty sure Microsoft don't have a weird British accent, but yeah, I don't know what I was doing there. With the PlayStation 4 though, Sony went to the developers and said, hey guys, we have this new cell processor and it does all these new cool wacky things that you weren't able to do before on standard PC architecture. And the developers said, so how do we do this? Well, you have to use all these different techniques that you've never used before. Or I could just develop on the console and the PC like I have done for years and not change anything that I do before, and get roughly the same results. But you'll be able to get more out of your PlayStation 4 with the cell processor, but it's confusing as fuck. And that was the problem, see? The developers were just like, I'm not dealing with that. They developed for the Xbox and the PC first and ported over to the PlayStation with every third-party game. Now, games like Last of Us and exclusive titles for the PlayStation 3, like Last of Us and God of War and all the various other ones, Killzone, they all used the cell processor, mainly because the development studios that were working on those games were paid off by Sony. They were owned by Sony, and hence they said, you're going to take advantage of our hardware that we've made. And Microsoft didn't need to do that. So all third-party games run better on the Xbox 360 and not PlayStation 3, because it was easier to develop for. Now, we've got a bit of an interesting situation with next gen. Now, you would have thought that due to the success of their easygoing plan from before, that Microsoft would have kept to that side of the things, but they haven't. What they've done is they've gone down the cloud route and saying, oh, you can take away all this hassle and hubbub with the hardware and just chuck that away and let the server do it for you. Hence, you won't need to have as much powerful hardware in the box. Now, as hardware goes, the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 are not much different, except the PlayStation 4 has a nice, lovely chunk of RAM in it. Now, this is the thing. PlayStation have done the exact opposite of what they've done. They've gone down the Xbox 360 route of things, and they've gone, hey, look, we've changed our shit. It now runs on a standard x86 architecture that is used with every goddamn PC there is, and because all the fucking cards and all the fucking RAM and everything in there is identical, you don't have to have a special driver to run it, which means that you get rid of a lot of the overhead processing that you have to deal with when you're playing on a PC. So, yeah. Now, obviously, that's made things a little bit easier for developers, and it's too early to tell how much of a difference that this would make. I do believe that the first-party games, like the games done by studios owned by Microsoft or Sony, will actually be better on the Xbox 360 due to the cloud processing dealio, basically giving them so much more opportunity and so much more power to play with that cloud doing everything for the game rather than hardware. But that being said, I think that third-party games may suffer for it, because third-party developers have always gone for what's easiest. They will always develop for the console and concentrate solely on the console that caters to them. Best examples are the Wii and the Wii U. Now, the Wii and the Wii U both had their own way of doing things, and they did not go down the standard route of hardware. They have both been, below par on the performance side of things. The hardware just isn't anywhere near as good, and the control schemes are completely wacky. The Wii has the two little remote things that I've used and believe to be the most inaccurate control schemes I have ever used, because most games were pretty much completable just by flicking your wrists about for a few minutes and everything would work out okay. And they relied heavily on quick time events. Did not like hardcore games and third-party games, especially for the Wii, and it turned into a paperweight. I didn't buy it myself, that was my other half. I blame her totally for ever having one of those. And as for the Wii U, they have the tablet screen, and as we can see, as more third-party games roll out, less games are trying to take advantage of that extra screen. And that is because, what is the point on cornering yourself with this specialised piece of hardware when you could just get in bed with everybody else and make a fuck ton more money? Fact is, if you develop a game solely for the Wii with two screens, or the Wii U with the two screens that is, and then try and jump that over to other consoles and PCs and everything else, it don't quite work, because you lose the capability of using that second screen, which puts you in a difficult position when it comes to porting it over from both sides, actually, because then if you're porting it over from the Xbox, Nintendo won't allow you to make the game over to the Wii without you first downgrading your game and then slapping on a load of non-essential features onto that second screen. So by doing this cloud thing, though it is a far stretch away from what the Nintendo have been doing with their weird hardware and stuff, this cloud thing, if the developers don't grab onto that and really try and suck everything they can get out of it, then Microsoft have given themselves a massive issue to deal with, and it could prove problematic in the future. The fact is, Nintendo have proven that you can't rely solely on first-party games, and if you did have to rely on first-party games with, say, the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, you would then find that you have a severe lack of games to play. So you really need to get those third-party developers on board, and it's actually looking like the PlayStation 4 might have the upper hand here. All I can say is we won't know for sure for the next year or two once the consoles start really being fleshed out into the next gen, because obviously we're still at the stage where pretty much every game is going to come out cross-generation. You know, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, Watch Dogs, Battlefield, Call of Duty. There's only a very few next-gen only games, because they're all crossing over, so they're all sort of in between. Both of them, they can be downgraded for the previous gen and stuff, so they're not really fully next-gen games yet, except for maybe certain games like Titanfall, which, and maybe Knack, although I don't like the look of that game at all, it looks horrible. So, yeah, what do you guys think? Because it's so sketchy right now what is going to be happening, and Microsoft have been very quiet recently about the Xbox One. Very, very deathly quiet. I haven't heard anything from them recently. But yeah, that's all from me. I'm going to be buggering off for a week, and I'll see you when I come back with some crazy ass video. That will be comedic gameplay probably, or something along those lines. But yeah, do all those things that every other channel tells you to do. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.